Today I decided to give you guys a review of Dune Part 2. This is the sequel to 2021's Dune Part 1, also directed by Denis Villeneuve, and I'm going to hold up the copy of the original Dune from the 80s because I don't own the first one on physical, mostly because it's available on HBO Max. I will get the 4K of that one eventually. Without further ado, let's get started. We'll start off with the basic story of Dune Part 2. Essentially, it continues where Dune Part 1 left off, and Paul Atreides and his mother have joined the Freemen of the planet Arrakis. Along the way, Paul becomes something of a messiah for the people, and he attempts to use that power to regain his kingdom and get revenge on those who wronged his family in the first film. That's the basic gist of the movie. We'll get into the positives of the film next, starting with the acting. The acting in the film is superb. Everyone in the film does a damn good job. Timothée Chalamet is great as Paul Atreides, and Zendaya is great in her role as well. There's really not a bad role in the entire movie, and all the actors are really giving it their A game. Even Batista's doing a damn good job in the film as the Baron's nephew, and Austin Butler does a great job as the Baron's other nephew, a new ruthless warrior who's introduced into the film. Another great aspect of the film is the visuals. You will not find a better looking movie on the market. It is just absolutely beautiful. One of the best looking sci-fi movies I've ever seen, right up there with Blade Runner 2049, also directed by Denis Villeneuve. From this giant sandworms to the amazing vistas, even a black and white planet. Yes, a planet that's in black and white due to having a solid black sun. There's nothing in this film that doesn't look great. From the first shot to the final one, this film is a feast of visual spectacle. And another thing that I very much enjoyed about the film was its themes. There's kind of this theme of faith and kind of fanaticalism, and I think there's a fine line between the two, and the film does explore that. You see that Paul Atreides has, at first glance, basically lost his mind and become something of a messiah to these people. But upon further glance, it might just be that he actually is something of a messiah and not just losing his mind. And it's kind of an interesting take on what religion can do to people. There are groups of these freemen who don't really believe in Paul, and there's other groups that think he is the second coming, so to speak. And it's really an interesting look into that kind of fanaticism, and one that I actually rather enjoyed. And I think it was a great theme that ran throughout the film. And the last positive I'll give the film is its action. The action in this movie is just top-notch. From amazing hand-to-hand combat, knife sequences, giant sets with amazing huge battles, and giant sandworms. There's nothing in this film that really is not, like I said, a feast for the eyes. It's just so amazing looking, and there's so much great action in the film, and all of it hits so hard. Much more than the first film. It's just, like I said, pure spectacle. But now on to the mixed aspects. And there's really only, I'd say, a couple of them that I have. For one, some of the characters in the first film feel a bit sidelined in this movie. For instance, Batista. He was seen as this really tough and in-control kind of badass in the first film. And here, he seems very much out of control and doesn't have a good grasp on the situation. I guess that is the way it was in the book, and I have read the book some time back, and the film is pretty accurate to the book, with some changes, of course, because some things just don't translate well to screen. But like I said, Batista kind of takes a back seat here, and as does a few other smaller characters, some of which I won't give away, because some of their presence in the film is a bit of a spoiler. But even still, I think some of the characters in the first film get a little bit shortchanged here for the newer characters. And another problem that I had was that some of the newer characters don't have quite the presence that I thought they would have. Austin Butler, for instance, is actually very good in the film, but unfortunately, he feels a little bit shortchanged to me. He has plenty of scenes, but he didn't make quite the impact that I thought he would make. But other than those two, that's really all I have for the mixed aspects. As far as the negative aspects, it's just one, and it's not really a big one. And that there's a little bit of a lull towards the middle act of the movie. About 20 minutes of the movie, between where you first get introduced to Austin Butler's character and the plot is happening on Arrakis, there's a bit of a slower area of the movie. And it's only this one part. It's about, like I said, 20 minutes of the film that I felt kind of could have been cut out or at least trimmed. And I honestly feel that we use a little bit of editing, because it's just like the transitionary period between getting introduced to some of these villains and the story being laid out on Arrakis just slows down some for, I guess, character moments, but it doesn't really do much for the movie. I think if they had really just went in and just trimmed just a little bit, this film would flow a lot better. I think good 225 would have been a good runtime as opposed to its current, I think, 240. But other than that, there's not really any negatives that I have with the film. I was really blown away with this movie. And it's kind of great to get back into theaters and watch an awesome sci-fi film such as this. I overall very much do enjoy this film. And while I do think it has some problems, I think Dune Part 2 is a damn near perfect movie and blows the first one away, honestly. It's probably my second favorite Denis Villeneuve film, right behind Blade Runner 2049. And honestly, I have to give Dune Part 2 a 9 out of 10. Very enjoyable and one that I very much recommend. If you haven't seen the first Dune, it is kind of required viewing, or else you'll be pretty lost here. But I'd say check it out on HBO Max, or buy the film. It is worth buying. Rewatch it, and then check out the new one. It's definitely worth your time and your money. I highly recommend the film. Go out and get yourself a Dune popcorn bucket if you want. Those things are really weird. And sit down and enjoy an amazing sci-fi adventure unlike anything you've seen in a long time. Thank you all for watching. I hope you check out Dune Part 2, and peace out.